Um, anyway, it's so good to have you all joining here us today. Uduak, it's so cool to have you here. I've been following your journey. I think you've been quite active in the community, but also on social media, LinkedIn stuff. So I've been kind of like keeping an eye on you, and I've been looking forward to having this opportunity. So thank you so much for just making the time for us today.
Thank you. It's finally good to be here.
Yeah, it's a true pleasure. I told you this earlier, and I always say this, that the more we grow as a school at Microverse, the less time that I get to spend myself as the CEO one-on-one with the students. And the lunch and learns are these precious moments every month where it's just the two of us talking to each other, and it's super special. I really cherish these moments.
Thank you. I hear likewise, because it's a great moment speaking with the CEO of Microverse. It's an honor. Thank you.
That's so cool. By the way, for everybody joining today, the chat is disabled for some reason. I'm sorry about that. I like the energy from the chat. But the Q&A is open. So if you have any question for Uduak, please, you can ask it in the Q&A. Let's focus on Uduak, not on Microverse. It's his time to shine. So I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions. But if there is anything that you want to know about him, his career, his time at Microverse, please, you can just go to the Q&A button in the lower bar of Zoom, and you can post your questions there. I'm going to try to moderate them a little bit as they come. Okay. So Uduak, I will introduce you with a little something I wrote, very short, and then I'm going to let you do all the talking, okay? So I want to welcome Uduak Essien to this Lunch and Learn. We do these events only once a month with a student that went through the program and has started a very successful, career as a software engineer. And in this case, Uduak is from Nigeria, and he currently works remotely as a software developer for a US company called Whitelabel. It's a software engineering agency that specializes in strategy, architecture, design, UI and UX, full stack development, and machine learning. And Uduak previously worked as a network engineer, but he joined Microverse in 2020 to change his career. So please, let's give him a warm welcome, and let's get the conversation started. So Uduak, tell us about yourself a little bit more. What were you doing before joining Microverse?
Thank you. Before joining Microverse, I worked as a network engineer for about 4 years each. And it's a great experience working as a network engineer, because you get to fix things, but suddenly becomes a bit bored because you are doing the same processes over and over again. So for someone like me who like challenging domains, so I sought after programming, software development, which in my current job, I see it every day. You get to face tickets that are brand new challenge that you've never encountered such before, and you get to wrap your brain to solve it. So it was a wonderful experience transitioning. So I said, I don't want to be doing one thing over and over again. I want to move into software engineering. So that's what sparked the desire to do that. But I couldn't afford that much tuition for boot camps and the rest. Then I found Microverse, which was amazing. ISA's pay when you get a job, and not just when you get a job, when you get a job from $1,000 above. I'm like, wow, this is an opportunity. Then I told my wife, I'm still going to do this.
Yeah. What did she say? I'm really curious.
She said, go for it. So although she doubted at first, okay, what are we gonna do? So how are you gonna do with your current job? And I'm like, if we can save. So we came up with a plan. Say, okay, let's save up enough and say, okay, if we are going to be able to spend, let's say 100,000 a month, or how much can we spend a month and be comfortable? So we save for 8 months. And when it was that amount, we started. So that was the
How
decision.
long were you saving for
Uh,
between the moment of like, oh, there's this thing called Microverse here. They don't charge tuition, but I still have to pay the bills, the food, the house, and the moment that you join Microverse.
I think I had some savings already, so I think it would take like 4 months
Okay.
before finally.
Okay.
But while doing the 4 months, I was going through the coding sessions. I think I even had admission in January, then I pushed it to April or so.
That makes a lot of sense. And got me thinking a lot about how we try to do everything we can to lower the barriers to access this type of education and jobs. But very often, that's not enough, right? There are a lot of financial barriers. You still have to pay for food, for housing, all those things. So I think you did something very smart there at recognizing, hey, if I want to be successful, I need to save some more money, even if that means joining this program a little bit later, so that you didn't have to stop in the middle of the program because you run out of money. A lot of
Sure.
people, they, well, not a lot of people, but some people join thinking, well, I only have money for 3 months and then I'll figure it out. And it's like, what if you don't? You're wasting your time, right? So it's good, and we do have this exercise. I don't know if we had it when you joined, the financial plan that we ask people to complete during the admissions process.
Yeah, I think
It was there already.
it was there. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
remember
Okay.
it was
Okay.
there.
I don't remember when we added it to the process, but it's just this exercise to help people think about, hey, how much money you need every month, how much money you have saved, how much extra you can save as a family. And yeah, we know that sometimes it's not even possible and you might not be able to save, but being a full-time program and peer-to-peer learning where you're spending so much time with other people, you need to be ready to commit full-time. So let me ask you about like in that process of deciding, hey, I want to change careers, how much coding did you know? How did you get into coding? How did you know the basics of coding to be able to join Microverse?
I think the first time I ever did coding was way back before I even learned network engineering. It was me practicing on Android. I think Java. I couldn't even remember how to code in Java again. So it was my church. We have this hymn book that we use. So I wanted to convert it so we could be using it on app. So I started committing like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every morning, reading up a PDF. I think now we have a lot of resources on YouTube and stuff. So then was mostly PDFs and ebooks. So I committed 6 to 9 every day to put in order to develop that app. Then I was able to do something. I think that was some of my early days of coding. Then I ventured into do WordPress, which was basically CMS and the rest. I couldn't even build a plugin, so it was just install this and do that. So basically that. So not much of professional level sort of.
Yeah, so you had spent a few years familiarizing yourself with the concepts, but you were definitely not working professionally as a developer.
Right.
Okay, I want people to remember this because like every once in a while we get someone in the Lunch and Learn who already had years of experience coding and they join Microverse because they want like to do the jump to international work and they land a super high salary and all that. But people say, well, that's easy, Ariel. They already had experience, but I don't. Uduak, you didn't have any professional experience. I'm getting ahead of the conversation here, but you landed an amazing job. I want people to know, like, you don't need to be special. You don't need to have a lot of previous experience or even previous professional experience at all, like to land the type of job that you got. So we're gonna get to how you got the job you have today in a moment, but while we were in the program at Microverse, of course, there is a lot of like technical learning, a lot of languages and frameworks and stuff. But of all the things, technical and non-technical, what was the most important thing that you learned at Microverse?
There are quite a lot. And one of the takeout I would say is for me was I know quite a lot of time I've gone through Udemy trying to learn coding on my own. It's either I stopped halfway or couldn't complete. So Microverse is like a guided learning process, which kind of it's like someone who watches your back and say, hey, have you committed to your coding today? So there are no teachers, so you are the one that is teaching yourself. And those kind of concepts that have been grinded, like built into me, has helped me because I could, right now in my job, I think the last one was a React Native project. And I haven't done anything on React Native project before, but it was just easy for me to pick up React Native code and contribute to the project immensely. And it's something that Microverse has done because you learn on your own. And when you learn on your own, it's amazing. So on Microverse, one of the things I learned, helping people to learn, helping you to learn on your own. Also, one of the, I think that distinguish, I don't know how other bootcamp run, but the communication professional, how do you call it again?
Like, yeah, professional skills and professional communication.
Thank you. Those parts were very important. Like,
what are some examples for you of things that you learned there that you're using today?
Okay, one of them likely how you communicate with your staff, your co-workers, your approach to things. You know, during some of our tasks were like, okay, if a co-worker commits a code and it's not right, and how to approach some of those things. I think it helps you. You can learn a job today, but your attitude in the job is what will keep you, and your communication would keep you, and how you interact with people, how you are proactive, how you share, communicate with people, it's what would actually keep you in the job. So because people tend to make decisions, I think there is a book I read, it has it calls it system 1 and system 2, which the first one is like the intuitive way of making decision, which like a lazy way of making decision. The second one is logical. So sometimes people tend to make quick decision with a lazy way, logical, how they perceive you in the first place. So they forget you are a very good programmer. They just remember that you did something, the way you talk to people, they don't like it and the rest. And they are not logical about how good you are in your coding, and they could just make that switch decision and they don't care. So that's communication part of professional skill of Microverse. I found it very important. And also the career session was really helpful for me, because there was a time in Microverse I felt like giving up for, I did job searching for I think almost more than 6 months, and I felt like just giving up. I think what was his name again? Autumn, one of the career coach, she had to pair with me on a call and said, okay, let's find a job and apply together and do the process. So that part of Microverse is it's priceless, helping students and following up with them after the technical, you learn all the technical stuff and the rest. So that part is really priceless, because at some point I had a job of that was supposed to pay $25 per hour. And after the interview, I sailed through the interview to the last stage where I was talking with the CEO. He said, okay, where are you from? I said, Nigeria. He said, we are doing this currency stuff based on your country. We would pay you $8 per hour. I said, no, but your job description said 25, and said that's it. So I even pleaded for, okay, why don't you do 15? He said 8. I said no, because I remember as a code review, I was earning $10 per hour in Microverse. Then after my whole program, I'll be earning 8. I said no. Then I even had another job where he off the they offered me $1,200 for a start, and I bidded for even 1.5, and it never showed up. They said they hired another person. So, but I kept going through the career coach. I spoke with the career coach, and he told me, don't give up. Just take your stand. If you think you will have a better offer, take your stand and keep going. So one of the points in Microverse I value so much is the career coaching section. Always keeping up with students that are still looking for jobs. So they don't just train you and leave you out there to swing the wall on your own, but that guidance is priceless, I must say.
I'm glad to hear you had such a difficult experience, but positive in your interaction with Autumn, who is one of our career coaches. Actually, he's now leading all the career services at Microverse. I'm not surprised that she was very impactful in your career, and that's the thing, right? Like, there is nothing we do to get you the job. I mean, we have partners, but at the end of the day, you are the one that has to show the skills, technical and non-technical skills. But it's tough work, right? Like a lot of rejections. And I wanted to ask you about like imposter syndrome. You start wondering, hey, am I good enough for this? So having someone that holds you accountable to keep showing up every day, that reminds you that, you know, you need to believe in yourself, that what you are trying to get is not impossible, that it like that can be so important. But it only works if you're putting the hard work, right? And you clearly did. And I can't even imagine how hard it must have been, you know, for you, your family, your wife, to be going for like 6 months of job searching with a lot of rejections and you know, burning some of those savings. And I'm glad you stuck to, you know, to your conviction, to your goal, and that you were able to do it. We lately started taking a slightly different approach in the current market where we are today, with a lot of startups like doing layoffs and all of that, where we said, you know, the most important thing for someone starting a career is get a job, right? Maybe it's not the dream job that pays $100,000 a year yet, okay? Get a job, because getting the second job, it's much easier, and it's much easier for the salary to be higher. And getting the third job, it's even easier, right? So even in the current market, if we see cases, and it depends on the person. For example, someone who is financially says, hey, I cannot spend another month, you know, without the salary. It's okay. Get a job, even if it's paying $10 an hour, $15 an hour, so that you can keep going. You're getting real world experience. And in 6 months, in 9 months, in a year, we have now a new department called Alum Services that just focuses on helping people who are already in jobs get their second job and their third job and their fourth job. So like, it's
amazing.
It's not always a straight path. It's not always like, hey, the first job is the perfect job, but our goal, right, and the payment model works in a way that, you know, we have this really strong incentive to keep helping you for as long as it takes until you get to the type of job that you want. So I'm glad you had that experience, and I'm glad that even if it took a while, you're able to like get to that goal quite quickly. Not quite quickly, but with the first job, not with the second, third. What was the hardest thing about this journey? Was it like a technical thing, learning technical concepts, or was more like the financial side of things? It was working with other people?
At some point, I was thinking, because there was a time I started saying, okay, I have to do some more coding and algorithm because I was building projects time to time. I was building personal projects time to time. I started doing stuff on blockchain. I built some projects on blockchain technologies, NFT applications. I think I volunteer for some stuff. So I got my profile filled up, and yet I still get some. So I was building projects to the point that I started building confidence each of the time I build this project on my own, and I built a lot of confidence on myself, but I know I was falling short of some algorithm tests. So I started working on that as well, which kind of helped me. So then one thing I did was actively coding, which, okay, when we're talking about how I got my job, I'll talk more on that so I don't jump into that. So the hardest part was mostly submitting applications. I'm not a big fan. I get tired of filling forms, changing
How many
letter.
job applications did you send to get this job?
I think I lost count.
Was it like 10, 100, or 1,000?
When I started with the energy at first, I was doing like 3 to 5 daily.
Okay, daily.
Then it dropped to maybe like 5 or so a week. So until I had that interaction with Autumn and she guided me through, then I started pushing up more again. But the interesting part is most of the interviews I got were from people contacting me, not the applications I submitted mostly. Because of my activities on LinkedIn, I was always posting my current project. Hey, look at this NFT project I just built using React. Share it on LinkedIn, share it on Twitter. Hey, I just built a new project. So those were people contacting me from LinkedIn were mostly the interviews I get. Yeah.
How did you find the one that actually became your current job?
That's interesting because they found me.
Oh,
So,
tell us more about it.
So I got this email from my portfolio, the contact page on my portfolio page. Hey, I've been following your GitHub. It's been going for the past 3 years. It shows you've actively been coding. Can we have a chat? Then I said, why not? Then we set up a Zoom meeting and we spoke a while. Then I think he said he would send me some tests. I think after 3 days or so, I got a test, like a take-home test. I did that, submitted, then didn't hear from him for almost 2 weeks or 3 weeks again. Then he came up again. I got your answer. Don't worry, I'm going to be talking with you soon. I'm very busy. Then 1 week passed. He came back again. Okay, we'll set up a meeting with some of our developers and we like what you do. We want to talk with you. Then I had another set up meeting. Then I think for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I didn't see him again. Then after a while, I think he came back again and I was offered the job. I was surprised. Even when he asked me, okay, what are your salary expectations? And I told him, okay, the last time I worked with Microverse, this is what I got. And he said, okay, that's fine, no problem. He didn't say anything. Then when I got the offer letter, I tell you, it was wow.
You don't have to share any numbers, like dollars, whatever. But how does that salary compare to, for example, your salary as a network engineer in Nigeria, like in the order of magnitude?
10x.
10. Nice. That's pretty nice. we always look at this metric every quarter when we analyze all the jobs. What is the average salary increase? And normally, the average is like 300%. So like people like do a 3x on their salary, which, hey, when that happens, I'm already super happy. I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna make a huge difference. But very often we see these like 8x, 9x, 10x, and it's like, holy cow, that's a massive change. How has your life changed with this?
I can't even begin to tell you.
Tell us a few things. Well, by the way, sometimes you go make more money and nothing changes, right? Like maybe you save more money, but you still have the same lifestyle and everything. Some other people are like, hey, I was able to help all these people or to buy my parents' house. Like, how was it for you?
I think it's a gradual process for me, because I'm confident of getting the things I want to. I'm confident I can take my wife for a vacation if I want to right now. I could help out to my mom. I could put a helping hand to some of my family. So that gives me a lot of joy, seeing that I could help my family members when they're in distress, need, or certain amount. Mostly a period such as this in Nigeria, where we have political season and a lot is going on, and people are really not finding it easy. So being of help to your immediate family, it's something I am proud of, and I might not be that, because I'm not, I wasn't that type of person that should I say loud. So if you are not really close, you wouldn't notice much. But things are really going on.
Do you consider yourself like an introvert?
Not really, because I know I speak up when we.
Okay, that's important. And when you have to speak up, you speak up, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the situation in Nigeria. We have been talking with the rest of the team this week about all the issues with the cash, the changes in the bills recently. How are things right now around you?
I think one of the challenge right now is, I think for me, my own perspective is more like people not being able to transact. The decision by the CBN governor is not making proper analysis of, because a lot of market women here in this part of the world, some of them do not even own a bank account. So, and some of them transact day-to-day, hand-to-mouth kind of life, and they sustain with what they sell and just eat the profit and put back in the market and do those things. So some of them do not even have an account, and it's really bad for them. And I can't even go to the market, like the lower markets, like in the streets, to buy anything because they need cash. You could do that in supermarkets and pay with your ATM or POS, but you can't do that in the market because they need the cash. Which account are you transferring money to? So it becomes very bad, and it's draining, and there are a lot of riots. There are some states in Nigeria that they've even burned down bank and done a lot of things. So, but it's kind of easing off. I believe after the presidential election, it should be down a bit. Yeah.
Wow. So it's impacting the people that needed the most, that need the help the most, is the most impacted by this, as it usually happens. Unfortunately, that's so sad to hear. I was
elephants fight.
Yeah. I was talking to someone today about something. I'm curious to hear your point of view. I have this very idealistic dream or hope for the future, and I'm an immigrant myself. I was born also in Argentina, in a developing country, right? And I came to Europe with my family when I was 12. And so many of the opportunities that I've had in my life are because of that change, that sacrifice that my parents made to emigrate. But now the world is different than it was when I was 12 years old, when I came to Europe. It's
Right.
different in the sense that we're more globalized, there is the internet, there are more and more remote jobs and all of that. So now you can, like you did, get a job working for a US company where you make 10 times what you can make locally without having to emigrate, right? And I think the people that haven't emigrated don't understand the price of immigration. You leave your family behind you. You leave your friends, your community behind you, your traditions, little things. You bring some of them with you, but you have to give up a lot of them. That
Yeah.
is, it's painful. But there is more, in my opinion. You also start making money in a richer country, and you start spending that money in the rich country instead of spending it in the local market with the people in your community that need it the most. You start paying taxes. You pay those taxes in a rich country, not in your country that need the most. So
Right.
I really hope that we are going in a direction where people will have fewer incentives to emigrate because they can still get a good job. That will get them to stay closer to their communities, to spend locally, to pay taxes locally, so that we can redistribute the wealth of the world a little bit more instead of concentrating it more. But of course, that is much easier said than done, or much easier said by me, the privileged guy who already lives in a privileged country. I live in Spain right now, where the government is not doing too many crazy things. There is stability. It's much harder to do when you are in a country that is going through all of this. What is your perspective on this? How do you feel about today you are in this place where you have this really good salary working internationally, but you're still in your country. You have to tolerate some of these things from the government. How do you feel about immigration? What do you think? How do you feel about staying versus living? I'm really curious to hear your perspective on this.
I've never been a fan of like moving, because just like you say, a lot of people do not understand the cost of immigrating, moving from one country, your home country. Home is home, right? There's no two way about that. So it's expensive, just like you've stated all those out. I've always have this conflicting thoughts. And that's why time to time I question some of my friends who have moved. How is it there? Could you give me an unbiased opinion of there versus here? Like the one I had 2 days ago, he told me, my brother, like he said, my brother, we come here for greener pastures. That if he had all the money and well-to-do, he would always prefer Nigeria to stay. Say the only issue we have is our bad governance. That if the government was good, Nigeria is a very peaceful and good place to live. So aside from the expense, the cost of living and everything, that he still suffers things like racism here and still face some of those issues here, that he would always prefer this side. And some other ones would tell you the same, like I I think this is a better environment for remote work. Everything is cool, everything is nice, but it's expensive to live here. So I still try to put one or two together. So my own ideology would be, I would love to visit these countries. I would love to go maybe stay 1 month and have my experience with this country. Maybe the next month I move to another one thanks to remote job. So So I would love to visit them myself and have my own fair share of experience, so I can better say, okay, this is my candid opinion about this. So it's good to hear from other people. They are talking from a certain vantage point, and I would love to take my own points too. And I think that's basically my perspective. As much as I would love to go for a country that is good and the rest, I would also like to bring innovations here in my country that will better this country, because someone made that country better. So yeah.
I love that philosophy, and it takes a lot of courage to do it, because it means accepting the imperfect reality of how things are and giving up to things being a little bit better somewhere else, but recognizing that you can play a positive role in, shaping a better future for your country, your people, your community, your family, yourselves. That's really powerful.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Let me ask you one final question, completely unrelated. It's just because it's very trendy right now. Are you using ChatGPT and OpenAI as a software developer?
Oh God, ChatGPT is my personal body right now. I'm using it.
It's amazing.
So I think Stack Overflow lost me a bit because of ChatGPT. So I think if you know the right question to use, I don't see it, because it comes in handy, because every here and there we go to Google, maybe we forget a certain documentation on how to do a certain thing. We go to Google and it leads us to Stack Overflow, and we do that. So with ChatGPT, it's an extra hand to do that. So just asking the right question, and you get exactly what you do. And sometimes it helps me refactor my code better. I could have a code that I think this code could be, it's like maybe plenty if statement. I just think this code could be better refactored. I could say, hey, ChatGPT, is there a better way to rewrite this code to be much more cleaner? And it will give me a suggestion here, and it helps. Yeah, I use
and you can even ask it to explain to you why the new code is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
and you could say, I keep having error on this code. Could you check what exactly is the problem? And it will do some analysis and say, okay, here it is, I think this. And sometimes I do, it does write some misleading code, and I tell it, hey, I think your code is wrong. You should look at it and say, oh, I'm sorry for that.
I had a really weird feeling the other day. I asked him, like, it wasn't code, it was something like there was a piece of text that I wanted to improve. And I said, hey, give me 10 different variations of an improved. I didn't say give me a better, I said, give me 10 different versions. And in a matter of like a second, it writes 10 different versions. And I felt bad for an AI. I'm like, oh, I'm giving it so much work, because I think I projected myself. If I had to write 10 different variations, I would be like, oh my gosh, what a pain in the neck. I feel so lazy about it. And I felt bad for the AI. And I'm like, it's a freaking machine. It's amazing that I don't have to do that. The machine can do that. It's just, I'm mind blown. And of course, we're having a lot of conversations about how to teach our students to best use it so that they are still learning, and their learning gets enhanced, gets accelerated by ChatGPT, instead of their own learning being replaced by ChatGPT just giving them the answers. How can we do that? In your day-to-day, you are learning new things all the time. You are using ChatGPT to support you. How do you think we can tell new students of Microverse, here's how to use it so that it helps you, but you're still learning?
I think that if someone now diverts, it's easy for someone to become totally dependent on AI like that. And when you do that, you suddenly lose focus, mostly if you are starting out new. So let it be you are stuck. You've tried in your own way, just like we normally use Google for. So let it be you're stuck, you've tried your own way, you tried to solve it. And like I said, I wrote a code and I just think it could be better and say, what do you think how could I improve this code? And it doesn't just show the code, it comes with explanation. And I think that's a good learning process. So over dependence can be harmful, I think, on the ChatGPT, because if it's taken away from you, what would you do? So would you still know what to do if it's taken away from you? So you shouldn't give it so much power, taking away your brain power, because when you give it so much power, you suddenly begin to lose confidence in your brain power. That's something we should be watchful of.
Makes sense. We always say, like, in a job interview, 99.9% of the cases you won't be allowed to use ChatGPT. Are you confident that you could do that without ChatGPT, right? If you could,
right,
you just can do it faster, or you can use ChatGPT to help you explain something. So the next time that it happens, you do it without ChatGPT, that's fine. But if you become dependent on that, then it can be problematic in the future. It's super cool. Well, by the way, I just found a way to enable the chat. So you can go to the chat, people, and say hi if you want now. I'm sorry that we couldn't enable it earlier. We have 135 people. So you can say hi if you want. You should be able to. And there we go. All right. Perfect. Okay. We have a lot of questions. So we're going to start going through some of them and see how many of them we can respond to. Huas is asking, how do you land a job if you have no professional experience as a software developer? What do you put in your resume if your previous work experience has nothing to do with software development?
Mostly, if you have your project, like, for example, your Microverse, before you finish, you must have built tons of projects. By the way, while I was in Microverse, I think people tend to have this habit of, I know some students tend to have this habit of just passing the code review question, but I look past that. I looked towards the future of knowing that I will present some of this project on my resume. So I try to make it the UI nice. I try to make everything tush so that when you see the interface, you like it. So because these are the projects that will build up your portfolio. You could put up a freelance. If you check my LinkedIn, I have freelance, working as a freelancer. I put some of those personal projects there and put the link. So those could build up. Those would definitely build up as part of your first project if you are starting up. And one other way is look for ways you can do volunteer jobs while waiting for jobs and constantly keep your GitHub green.
So having your GitHub profile green, using the projects you build during Microverse as projects. And then, is it okay if I share your LinkedIn profile with people? I have the link here. I think It's a great example of how to build a strong LinkedIn profile for someone without previous coding experience that in some way tells people, but I do have coding experience. Like, let me put it in the chat. And then people, you can take a look at what Uduak did there to, introduce himself as a new developer, but that does have some experience, even though he's never worked professionally before. And I think I want to recognize that you went through the program in 2020, right? In 2021, last year, well, 2 years ago now, we changed the program quite a bit to introduce weekly deadlines. And the program got much more intense as a consequence of that. Now, every Friday, Saturday, you have to have your code approved. If not, you have to repeat the entire week again. And now people have even more incentives to pass the code review and move on to the next thing. Okay, that's okay. But two things. One, when you are building your project during the week, try to go in iterations, right? Get the basic requirements first. And then if you have extra time, make it look prettier, the code, the UI, right? And then once you start job searching, to keep your GitHub profile green, as Uduak was saying, you can go back to those projects from the early moments of Microverse. And now you work on making them like prettier and all of that. You keep committing code, you keep having that graph green, and now you have projects that look much better, so your portfolio looks better. Using those projects and side projects that you're building, it's key because you can't have a job until you show a little bit of experience. So you have to hack it by using that experience in the best, presenting it in the best possible way. So absolutely, in agreement with you there. So can you get a job as a full stack developer without any degree? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Myself, I read agric engineering. I've never presented that to anyone. So you can get that. In short, most of the my CV, I put up Microverse, just Microverse. That's all you need, the certification, because they do it so wonderful that each of the section you finish HTML and CSS, JavaScript, Ruby on Rails, React, you are getting certificates. So but by the time you're done, you have loads of certificates. So as long as you can show what you can do, you're good to go. I don't think it's a barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. We see people without degrees getting jobs every day, so definitely not a problem. All right. Let me look at more questions. Yeah, people keep asking, hey, I don't have experience, I don't have an engineering degree, but I have done some small jobs and have a bachelor degree in technological matters. Like, yes, like, let me ask you a question. Working with a career coach at Microverse, was it helpful to help you understand how to use the experience that you did have and how to present it in the best possible way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that falls under the professional skill, because you'll be taught how to present your CV, cover letter, LinkedIn, setting up your GitHub, and all those stuff. So these build up to having yourself out there, putting yourself out there, networking with people, building up network. Because I know, like the past a week ago, I introduced like 2 Microverse students to a job. Although it's not big, but it's more like a side project that could help them build their portfolio. So these are network, keeping tab with your fellow colleagues and the rest, because you have to be in the mind of people, right? So when I'm thinking of, I need a React developer, who comes to my mind first is what I go for. I don't start cracking. So that's why you need to be in the mind of people, networking with your friends, keeping tabs. Hey, how's your new job going? It helps you be present in their minds. So if anything comes up, he just remembers you at first.
That's a very nice tip on networking. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, this is an interesting one. It is said that African talent is not as valued as much as from other parts of the world, which means that you may get a job, but the salary remains like, lower, less. Do you see it the same way? What can you do to overcome that?
I think like where I'm working, Whitelabel is an agency. So I'm currently, as an agency company, they give you to different companies to work. So I'm working with Owens Global in Toledo, Ohio. It's a Fortune 500 company. So one of the HR manager was talking to me, and he's like, Uduak, I want to know, how did they find you? Talent like this in Nigeria, how did you even get there to find you? So I think with the pandemic as a whole, I would say was a blessing to open up more remote job for
Absolutely.
for African talent. I think a lot of people are embracing African talent. They are seeing it and they are taking advantage of it. And he told me that we in US here we are losing talent. The talent pool is reducing, and it's a good thing that he found you. We want to expand our horizon and search. So I think just be confident, be doing what you're doing, and you find it. Don't lose confidence. It's like what I think one of our assembly, you said something, and that stuck with me for a while. He said the difference between washing a plate and making sure the plate is clean. So if you focus on washing the plate will definitely be clean. So if you focus on your development skill, putting up projects out there, you definitely land a job. It's a no-brainer.
And I'm super curious like that, or it's interesting that you remember that thing, right? I was reading this book on Buddhism that said, don't clean your dishes to have clean dishes, clean the dishes to clean the dishes, right? It's like, don't code to get a job, code to code, and the job will come, right? Like, at the end of the day, I think that speaks about something that is very important, and it's like, you never know, how long is it going to take to get to a certain place or a certain goal. You might not get to the goal in the way you imagine. What you can do is make sure that whatever you're doing today is worth it, right? Like, we can be dead tomorrow, and all this hard work, right, and all the sacrifices we made are for nothing. So I think it's really important to find this balance and say, hey, here's my goal, right? I want the dishes to be clean, but I'm alive today. I want to be enjoying what I do today. So today, I'm going to find a way to clean the dishes in a way that makes cleaning the dishes fun. I'm going to find a balance between applying to jobs, which, hey, not my favorite thing. I'll do it as part of, having clean dishes, having a job in the future. But I'll also try to make sure that I'm coding every day in a way that makes me have fun. Because when I meet my potential employer, they will feel it. They will know that this guy or this gal has a lot of fun when they're coding, and hey, that passion, it's captivating. It's contagious.
That's one of the thing I used to tell myself. I said, anyone that will finally hire me, they'll be lucky to have me. So
there you go.
It's kind of confidence you have to build on yourself, and it's really amazing because I moved from one team to another within a space of 4 months or so, and it's amazing when you put in the work and you see the results. Just focus on coding and making sure you are good. Just build that confidence and pick up projects that are frustrating, you think you cannot do, and do it yourself. Post it, put it out there. Yeah.
It's hard, of course, getting rejected. And it also, I'm a white dude living in Europe, so I couldn't have an easier version of the video game of life that I'm playing, right? But as a Black African, like, that will put you in the video game of life in the the most difficult, highest level of difficulty when it applies to jobs. Here's the thing, right? White dude in Europe will probably have to apply to 20 jobs to get the job. An African person, someone from Nigeria, will have to apply to 100. Is that fair? It definitely is not fair, right? And I can only imagine what it feels, and that feeling must be frustrating. But there is just so much that we can do about it in the short term. We are all working on and trying to get to another place, but in the short term, there's very little you can control about that. But you can control your own head, right? And think, okay, I don't need every company to hire me. I need one company to hire me. So for the white dude in Europe, he's lucky or she's lucky, 1 out of 20 will say yes. For me, it's 1 out of 100. So I'm gonna have to count higher. I'm gonna have to count 99 no's, because I know that when I get to 100, I'll get the job. And then each no becomes just part of the process, instead of just becoming something that in itself tells you that you're not going to get the job, right? So anyway, just need one good company to say yes. Just keep going just for that one yes. That's all it takes.
And on that note, here's my conclusion. I came on that particular aspect. I told myself I have to be better. I have to be very good, because I stopped blaming the employers for rejecting me because of my location. And I start thinking the other way, right? These guys, they want to promote local content. So they want to use their local content. So, okay, I'm going to hire people from Europe, for example, before I even consider people from Africa. So you see your chance diminish. So for you to make it to the list, you have to be very good and beat most of their contemporary candidates in the Europe. So that's when I started saying, I'm going to push myself more to be better, to amaze them at every interview, so that they would have to have no reason to reject me and say, okay, let's just try you out. You've shown yourself very good. So I think sometimes the mind limits us, and that's how we start limiting ourselves. Oh, they keep rejecting Africa, and you do that, and you would keep getting rejected. So when you change your mindset and said, I'm going to show these people what stuff I'm made of, I'm going to prove myself to them, I'm going to tell them, give me a shot. Okay, if you don't want to hire me, give me 1 month. Let me show you what I can. If you don't want, don't pay me. And that kind of stuff kind of put people and say, wow, okay, let's see what you can get. And that kind of mindset would definitely land you a job.
Absolutely. And I think there is always a way to flip the situation so that you can make the negative the positive, right? It's not easy,
right?
But here's what I'm thinking about. As much as most people in the Western world, in the wide world, that will be having their biases, prejudices, racism, and tons of reasons to say, I don't want to hire you. There are a few that are saying, we want more diversity in the team. For example, we are a company that started in the US, but we have a lot of African clients. So we want to hire Africans because that gives us empathy internally for our clients and we can better service them. So there are companies out there who are intentionally looking for diversity, who, for whatever reason, it can be a commercial reason, or it can be their hearts, like it really doesn't matter. They want more people of color in their company. Great. Find those companies, because those are the ones that actually want you. There are companies that say, wow, I'm paying $120,000 a year for a junior developer in San Francisco. What if I hire from Africa, right? It's going to be cheaper for sure. Well, you can use that as an arbitrage opportunity, and you can say, hey, I know I don't want a local salary. I don't want to be making $300-400 a month. I want to be making $2,000. But the San Francisco junior developer makes $7,000. I want to charge $2,000, and I'm going to explicitly say, hey, I'm an international developer. I have all this experience working with people from all around the world, all these professional skills. I'm a great communicator, but I am cheaper than your white US employee, and I am as good, right? Like that's your selling point, right? As long as you are okay, and I know this probably feels unfair to say, well, yes, I'll get paid less than the white dude in San Francisco. Yeah, but the white dude in San Francisco is paying $3,000 a month to rent a 1-bedroom apartment, right? So, there are a lot of opportunities, but you have to find the positive side as well. Okay, we are out of time. I want to close with one last question for you. What is a piece of advice that you have for people who are starting their software engineering career?
Yeah, one piece of advice would be, you're starting up a job, forget about the frustration people put up. Forget about the negative things you've had. Just be positive. Look at the bright side and be confident in yourself. Just like the saying that we said, just focus on the coding, focus on the development. if you are going to give yourself 8 months in coding, just stay focused and put in the hours, put in the work, do the coding, build projects, volunteer projects, and build stuff, and the money would follow. But first, you need to believe that you can do it. The group I started with, I've had people who started with me that did not even have any background knowledge of computer, but by the time we reached the end, they were doing amazing. They were doing great for themselves. So I've seen transformation, but first, I think you have to believe in yourself. Just like the good book would say, Bible, it says, before a man starts building, he must first finish the house in his mind. So you must have finished building the house in your head and everything. So you project yourself, you see yourself. Before I started Microverse, I had a sticker note tied somewhere, and I wrote the amount I want to be earning. Said I want to earn this above this by the time I finish. And when I got the job, and I took my wife there, showed him the sticker, and showed him my job offer. It was amazing because how the mind works. It's like the alchemist theory said, when you want something badly,
the universe conspires.
But before the universe conspire to make it happen, they will have to test you. It will have to test how badly do you want it, and there has to be frustration. And if you still hold on to it, and he sees this guy needs this thing so bad, let's give it to him. So that's my advice.
That's amazing. And thank you for the book recommendation hidden in that piece of advice. The Alchemist, it's such a beautiful book.
Yeah.
I love that quote. I use it like once a week, I think, in my life. Well, thank you, Uduak, for dedicating us this time today. It's been super inspiring, and it reminds me every day, like, why I work and what I work. It gives me a reason to keep working hard, having the opportunity to help more people like you change your lives the way you've done it. Man, I have the best job in the world. I love it. But that's because of you and all the hard work that you put, all that conviction to make it happen. So I'm glad that you believed in yourself. I'm glad that we had a chance to help you always continue living in yourself. And I'm sure your words today, your story will inspire other people out there to believe in themselves and to get to the same goal. So thank you for doing this for us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the amazing work Microverse has been doing. I see there's been a lot of changes, a lot of collaboration with companies to help devs, and that's really amazing, something we didn't have. So it's
just getting started.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. It was great to have you here, and I'm sorry that I couldn't enable the chat earlier, but at least we got to see some of you saying hi and where you're joining from. Keep coding every day and stay positive. Believe in yourself, okay? Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.